Okay, I think we will get started now. I'd like to welcome back those of you who have attended our meetings in the past, and especially welcome newcomers. For those of you who are not experienced Zoom users, if you wish to see closed captions, there is a button to click on at the bottom of your screen. You can move the captions by putting your cursor on the caption box and moving it. If you keep the chat box open, you will avoid the orange chat icon popping up and covering the captions. If you prefer not to see the chat, you can drag and drop it to the side of the screen. We are recording this. When the recording is ready, we will post a YouTube link on our website for others who missed it tonight. Tonight, we are very privileged to have Sagar Savla, Senior Product Manager for Google's Artificial Intelligence Research Team. He will describe major features in Google products that are useful for the hard of hearing and the deaf, including apps such as Live Transcribe, a phone app that captions live conversations. His presentation will be followed by a question and answer period. Mr. Savla's interest in captioning originated in his desire to find ways to help his grandmother communicate as her hearing loss progressed. Originally from Bombay, India, he has given talks in over 20 countries on topics such as ethical hacking, artificial intelligence, and JavaScript. He has won multiple awards for his work in tech competitions. He earned a master's degree at the Georgia Institute of Technology for his research in the fields of machine learning, user experience, and privacy policies. Prior to this, he worked at Facebook on data science and virtual reality, at Lyft on the best dispatch systems, and at PayPal on fraud detection. When Mr. Savla is done, if you want to ask a question, please click on the Reactions tab at the bottom of your screen, then click on Raise Hand. I will unmute you and you will be able to speak. In order to give as many people as possible a chance, we do request that you keep your question to 1 minute. When you reach a minute, you will be cut off. If you need to ask a follow-up question, you will be given an additional minute. Until the question and answer period, please do mute yourself, and then if you have a question later, that will be the time to unmute. Sagar, we're ready for you now. Thank you.
Thanks for that great introduction, John. Thanks a lot for coming to know more around what Google offers. I'm really excited to show you guys some of the products that you probably already know about and give a worldview of the overall landscape in the space of deaf and hard of hearing accessibility projects. Give me a couple of minutes while I share my screen. Can everybody hear me and see the screens? Perfect. I'm Sagar. I'm a product manager in Google's research group, just like how John mentioned. I work a lot in the space of machine learning, which is in common parlance is considered artificial intelligence. And we use that a lot in the space of accessibility, fairness, computational photography, like taking better photos, as well as computer vision, being able to see what's in a photo. And accessibility is a core part of Google's mission. As you might have heard, Google's mission since 1998 has been to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And so, as you can see, the word universally accessible has been baked into the mission since birth. And that's the key aspect that we look at. When we think of accessibility, we think of making it accessible across all different domains, be it physical dexterity, hearing loss, vision loss, and more. We also look at the world's information. What does that part mean? It means not just information that's on the internet, but also the things that are in the real world around you.
Excuse me, Sagar, I've had a request to ask you to slow down a bit.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
The way we think about accessibility is that disability affects everybody. It's not just the folks that identify themselves as being disabled in a particular category, but there is also a whole chunk of people who are non-identified. They have a disability but don't yet identify. Um, I'm assuming since most of you have joined the HLA chapter meeting, you do identify yourself as part of this community. And then there are, of course, allies who are friends and family of people with disabilities, people who identify with certain disabilities, or people who have a particular family member who might have a disability. And if you then increase the scope to people who might have temporary disabilities and situational disabilities, a temporary disability is something like me having a surgery on my knee and then having to walk with crutches for the next 6 weeks. Or a situational disability is when I walk into a noisy bar or a cafe and then I have to really lean in to be able to hear the other person. That's the kind of disabilities, if we think about, then it kind of includes everybody across their lifespan. Which means that if we design for disability and make it accessible, it ends up benefiting everybody, not just people who identify themselves as disabled. And hence, it actually spans everybody and all of our projects that we work on. The other benefit that we find in disability work is that navigating, it's what we call the curb cut effect. Here's an example where navigating cities used to work like this, right? You would have big curves, and if you had a wheelchair, you would essentially not be able to use the sidewalks. And eventually, somebody figured out that, hey, what if we create a ramp for people to go? And it ended out that it ended up helping a lot more people than just wheelchair users. It helped people who have strollers, people who have rolling suitcases, etc. It's a great example of when you design for accessibility, it ends up benefiting a lot more users than you initially think. Now, going deeper into the deaf and hard of hearing population, the current WHO estimate of the number of people with who identify themselves in the deaf and hard of hearing category is around 466 million people, which is astounding. It's 1 in 15 people. If it was a country, it would be the third largest country by itself by population. And the most worrisome part for me is that this number is expected to grow to about a billion people in just a few decades. It's growing faster than the rate of growth of the overall population, which means that it is more important for us to create products that are accessible uh, to the deaf and hard of hearing. The way we think about Android's world of deaf and hard of hearing is around our offerings around captioning and amplification. I'll go in a bit deeper detail about each of these and which projects we have. Uh, to think about hearing aid supports and captions together, we we try to span across all of Google's projects. Hearing aid support is something that we have built into Android phones directly, so that this is similar to hearing aids that you might have come across that pair with your iPhones, where you get uh, better support for the phone calls or media that is playing back from your phone. And you don't need any other accessories, and you can use your existing hearing aid for those features. But what if you can't afford a hearing aid, or if you are still trying out if you require a hearing aid, or if you happen to uh, keep your hearing aid aside but you have your phone nearby? We have an app called Sound Amplifier, which boosts audio that is right next to your phone. Essentially, it uses your phone as a microphone and boosts that audio while making sure that it does not boost the noise. We give different parameters around that, which allows people to tune to their particular kind of hearing loss that they might have. This is an interesting challenge because when we give too many knobs, people get really confused and they ended up not being able to see any benefits or hear any benefits. It's similar to this, right? When back in the day, we used to tune a bunch of knobs on the audio board. But now, as you can see on the right side, it's more of a code that we write. And that code is what spans across all of the work that you use. And so we created a new version of Sound Amplifier, which simplifies a lot of this work and automatically understands what is speech versus non-speech and noise, what is sounds that you actually care about, even if it's music, versus noise that you might not care about, like clanging on cutlery sounds. So let me play back a video from our...
Sounds are basically just vibrating molecules. These vibrations travel through the air, the bones, and the fluid of our ear before getting converted into signals that can be processed and interpreted by our brains. A key step in the process of hearing involves so-called hair cells firing when the bits of membrane that they're attached to vibrates.
People with hearing loss have a reduced number of these hair cells, which makes it more difficult for them to extract information they care about from background noises. To solve this, what we want to do is amplify those sounds that are important so that the remaining undamaged hair cells can do a better job.
The Sound Amplifier app has taken thousands of samples of sound and blended those together using machine learning to figure out what the best way is to present sound to someone who has a hearing impairment with very, very simple controls.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so I think you should come next year.
I've been wearing hearing aids since I was 13. The world is a world of sound. Our interactions as human beings are very deeply dependent on our ability to have conversations. And without access to sound, it's very hard to do that. But if you think for just a moment about the several billion people who have smartphones running Android, all of those people could run Sound Amplifier. So in a sense, this is a wonderful way of distributing capability to billions of people.
Continuing this, we wanted to see more things around captioning space. Right now, of course, you can see a professional captioner captioning in this meeting. But what about the times when you have an extemporaneous discussion with a buddy, or you just want to have a social conversation where you cannot or have not scheduled a professional interpreter? There are certain scenarios that we think of for that, and that's where Live Transcribe comes in. Most of you might have heard about Live Transcribe already. There are apps that are now mimicking that on other platforms. In Live Transcribe, we now provide instant free real-time captions in over 80 different languages. We not only do audio, but we give a full richness in terms of audio. So you can see this circle on the top right, which shows you what kind of noise is in the room right now versus speech. We give non-speech sound events like applause and dog sounds. There are over 40 different sounds that we can understand and recognize, which gives you more awareness about the kind of sounds that exist. Most of you might not be completely deaf, but if you have friends who might be, uh, you might have seen that many of them might not be comfortable speaking back. And so we also have a type back mode where you can just type back your response. And this allows you to have a pretty free-flowing conversation with somebody who is hearing and somebody who is hard of hearing if either of you do not know sign language. Live Transcribe is soon going to support a new version which allows you to use it offline and completely on the device. And this is the story. This is my grandmother. And here you can see the delight on her face when she saw captions in Gujarati, our mother tongue. A new project that we launched earlier this year is called Sound Notifications. By the way, the language is called Gujarati, Gujarati. Yeah. Sound Notifications uses on-device machine learning and gives you notifications for sounds that you might not hear about, like water running, dog barking, baby crying, that kind of stuff. We personalize to your household sounds, and that particular feature is coming later this year. Let's talk about another kind of a captioning product that we have. Live Transcribe helps you caption real-world conversations. But what about all the media that is happening on your phone? Be it YouTube videos, Instagram stories, or videos that somebody sent to you on iMessage. What about all those audio clips or even voice messages that somebody might do back and forth? Now you can get captions directly for all the media that's happening on your phone.
Silence is not always golden. For millions of Americans with hearing problems, television is a silent screen. Frustrating, isn't it?
The first time television introduced captions was in 1972. For those who are deaf and hard of hearing, this was the first time that television became accessible to them. My name is K.R. Liu. When I turned 2.5 years old, my parents noticed that I wasn't talking properly, and they went and got my hearing checked and realized I had severe hearing loss. When there's no captioning or I can't understand what's happening in the content that I'm watching, it sucks. Now I can't enjoy this because I can't understand what the person's saying. When I don't have that, it's like taking an experience away from me.
So back in 2009, YouTube partnered with our speech team in order to caption all the videos being uploaded every day. But YouTube isn't all the content in the world, and the amount of content out in the world that isn't captioned is staggering. If I'm flipping around TV and I have captioning on, there's no reason why your phone shouldn't have the same. So why don't we just take this technology that we've been doing so well for so long, make it a little bit smaller, put it on the phones, send it through the models, show you the captions. We're done.
That's when we started working with the deaf and hard of hearing community to build Live Caption. It's a brand new feature on Android that captions any media playing on your device.
And you can even, if you want to see more, you can.
Wow, I didn't know that. It's gonna make our lives so much easier. I wake up 2 o'clock in the morning to walk, to wake up my mom or dad, to say, what are they saying on this? I feel like it's no one's fault. It's the system. But I don't want to miss out on information. I want to know everything. I want to laugh along with other people. Without captioning, I don't feel like I'm part of it. We live in a world where a lot of things are not deaf-friendly. And I'm so grateful that people thought of us.
This feature is not only for deaf and hard of hearing people. It's for anyone who wants to watch content on mute or they're in a situation where they can't turn it up. Everybody at some point in their life is going to have an accessibility issue, whether temporary or permanent. When you design for disability, you do design for everyone.
This project has now launched, and it is available on over 100 million phones. I recently just helped one of my friend's grandmother who has lots of video calls over FaceTime, WhatsApp with her family in Israel. And she recently started using live captions to be able to hear them better. The way we think about captioning is that we want to make it ubiquitous and across the board, across every surface that you touch upon. And so we are excited to announce that we just launched live caption on computers as well. So now if you use the Chrome browser, you can get the same features as getting captions for any audio that is coming out of your web browser on any computer, be it Mac, Windows, or Linux, or Chrome OS. We also have Google Slides as captions. So right now I'm using Google Slides. And as you can see, I'm going to enable it, and you will see captions show up on the bottom of the screen. As you can see, the speed of the captions is pretty fast. The accuracy is not as good as the professional interpreter, but many of the times we find that our users say that the speed works out and gives them a better immersion in the conversation that's happening. Using slides captions is also available on all platforms wherever you use Google Slides, which allows you to make sure that if you're a presenter or if you are one of the audience members, you can have a more inclusive discussion and presentation. I'm going to now disable the Google Slides captions to not confuse the two different captioning streams that are going on. Google Slides captions has been really well received by the community, and a lot of people have started using it. Another feature that we have is similar to Zoom. There is Google Meet, and Google Meet has had captions way before Zoom launched it. And that is available on all platforms, again, on Android, on your computers, as well as on iPhones. It also is available on meeting rooms if you have conference rooms and offices. We are proud to announce that we also now support translation, live translation of captions. So if you have meetings in multiple different languages, you can use Google Meet to translate in real time between two people speaking. And to access all of the previously mentioned accessibility features like live transcribe anywhere on your phone screen, we now have a new accessibility button, which allows you to be able to access these apps from any screen on your phone. And that's the way we think about universal design. Thank you. If you would like to participate and make your voice heard in terms of how we can make the experiences better, please do participate and sign up in our user experience research program, where we work with you and collect feedback in the different parts of Google's products. Thank you. We can now open it up to Q&A.
We will now open it up for questions. And so if you have a question, let's see, I'm trying to see where I see the raised hands here.
Hey, Jay is here.
Jay, I'm actually not
Jay Zimmerman.
seeing the raised hands here.
Catherine, you go ahead.
I'm unmuted now. The accessibility app you were talking about at the end, which applies to all the access, that is only on the phone, or can you get that through Google Chrome if you're on your laptop? And if you can, how do you do that?
Which app are we talking about? The one that gives captions for real-time
just
conversation?
At the very last part of your talk, you were saying that there was a new app, an accessibility app that allowed you to get captions on all these different platforms that are available on your phone. So when I'm asking, is there a similar way to do that on your laptop through Chrome, through Google Chrome, if you're using that as your browser?
So if you, all audio that is coming from Google Chrome can also be captioned. You can enable, if you look up live caption Google Chrome, you will find instructions on how to enable it in the settings.
look up live caption Google Chrome on the web, you mean? Just Google it. Google it, yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Harold?
Okay, I'm trying to find, I thought the raised hands were going to show up more easily. Ann Colbell, have you raised your hand?
No, my hand is not raised.
No. I can
Okay.
handle this, John. Benjamin Romney.
Are you seeing?
Hear
Okay,
me
go
now?
ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
My question is whether you need to be connected to the internet to use these apps.
For some of these you do, like Google Meet, of course, uses
Right,
a video calling. For
But
Google Slides, you need internet. But for live caption, it works on your device. And for live transcribe, for some languages, we are working on bringing it on your device.
So if you're just face to face with someone, you could use it with just based on the microphone and speakers of, right. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thank you for asking. Tony Ferrak. Hopefully I
Hi,
pronounced your name right.
first off, the first thing I wanted to ask is if you could put that user experience link in the chat box. And then the question I had was, the biggest problem that we have with the Live Transcribe app is when people have hearing loss that do not have good voices, and it fails miserably to the point where people are actually embarrassed. Is there being work done that is improving that feature?
Yes, we consider in the medical world, there is a project at Google called Euphonia, which is particularly for non-normative speech and trying to make those that kind of heavily accented speech recognition better. And so if you would like to participate in that, I'm giving another link called at g.co/euphonia. Jay Zimmerman.
Jay, I'm seeing the raised hands now. Go ahead, Jay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. How are you?
There you are. So great to see you. Really wonderful presentation. Thank you guys so much for working on these products and for taking such a broad view of disability and incorporating everything. Full disclosure, everybody, we've met before, met out at Google I/O, and you hacked together Live Transcribe for me, a mirrored setup, so I could actually talk with people and they could see the words. That's something I'm doing every day, and I'm using Live Transcribe right now for this talk. Well, part of the training is getting people to put it on their own phones, so people are now starting to caption their own phones. So we've talked before, I will send you specific things, but I'm very, very excited that you're going to make Live Transcribe available offline. That's my number one need, because it just goes off in the weirdest times. The second need, which is minor, is if you could just add a toggle about the second language, so we could just turn second language completely off, because repeatedly it would just to be a default. Every time I have to go in there and turn it off, suddenly it will come out Arabic. It's really, really frustrating. My last comment is about the sound amplification app. So I'm glad to hear there's a new version coming out. I'm going to try it. Do you know if this version gives us some advanced settings so we can amplify below 250 hertz? What?
We're running a little long. We want to leave room for other people. So, is there a final question you wanted to ask?
Yes, I was just asking about him if the new sound amplifier can amplify below 250 hertz, because the phone can, but in the original version of the app, it was not able to do that.
I'll take a look at that. I would need to circle back with the team to find out more info about that.
Okay. Sorry I talked so long, John. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And Agnieszka?
This is Claudine. I have a question.
Hi.
Can we have the same availability of accessibility on the iPhone, just like you were talking about the Android?
So yes, you do get Google Meet captions directly on iPhones.
No, I'm not talking about the captions. I'm talking about the hearing. You were talking about the V1 and the V2.
The sound amplifier apps?
On the iPhone.
Yes, sound amplifier is Android only.
Okay, thank you.
Hi.
Okay, Harold?
Sorry, Agnieszka has
Unmute yourself, Harold.
Are you addressing me? Okay. Is live caption available on the iPhone?
Live caption is not available on the iPhone. It cannot run our machine learning models. It's not powerful enough. Agnieszka?
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Agnieszka?
Yes, hi. Hello, everyone. I have a question. Does the live caption app that you were discussing also work on incoming telephone calls, so that in a way that you would not need to use a captioning app for the telephone? So if you have an incoming call, would live caption automatically caption that call?
Yes, it does. And that was the example I was mentioning. My friend's grandmother uses it for incoming calls, including WhatsApp calls, and any other call that comes through.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Carol? Carol Anshin?
Yeah, I'm a little confused because some of the slides and everything went a little bit fast. And so someone just asked a question about whether live caption was available on iPhones. I'm not clear on what is or isn't available on an iPhone, and also what is the difference between V1 and V2?
Good points. The V1 and V2. There is echo you're hearing. Can you mute yourself? The V1 and V2 is just about progress and behind the scenes of how we develop the app. You will just see the V2 now, which is a better version. In terms of what is available on iPhones versus not, Google Meet gives captions on iPhones, as well as Google Duo has captions for video messages and voice messages on iPhones.
Okay, Michelle? Not hearing you. Not hearing you. No, maybe we'll come back to you if you can. Michelle, we'll come back to you if you can figure out. Ruth?
Live captions are available on iPhone. You go to an email, go down into your email, and then just click on the mic and start talking. And you will get the whole thing transcribed. And you don't need Wi-Fi.
That is dictation, not live caption.
That's live
Can you explain
caption. I use it all the time. Whether it's dictation or not, I have conversations with people. I saw my doctor today and we had this conversation. So if you want to call it dictation, that's fine. But the bottom line is that there are captions.
I understand, Ruth. I'm just talking about the specific name that exists on the platform. On iOS, it is called dictation, and it is for outgoing speech. You cannot caption the speech that is coming from your phone. Live caption is for
It's
live
incoming
caption.
speech too.
Live caption is for, so dictation does not work, for example, on phone calls.
I'm talking about having a conversation with somebody face to face, where you can't get Wi-Fi and you need to be able to read what's happening. Okay,
Yeah,
so
the more tools that we
I'm
make
not a
accessible, the
techie
better
person.
it is.
I'm just a
Thank
person
you.
who needs captions.
Michelle, have you figured out, are you ready?
Nope.
Still not hearing you. Is anybody hearing Michelle?
No.
Not
No.
hearing you. I don't know why. Sorry.
She has to unmute herself.
She's unmuted.
Catherine, you have another question? Catherine, is your hand up?
Yes, yeah, I'm sorry, my hand is up, John. I'm not sure you're following the chat. People are very confused about the iPhone and how this conversation that we're having tonight applies to people who are iPhone users. Google is available primarily on Android apps. We hope to have a representative from Apple to come speak to us too. Apple did not want to speak with somebody from Google. And so we're giving this whole presentation to Google. A lot of Google apps are available on your computer that Sagar has talked about. But I think people are not understanding how this relates to their using their iPhones. So I hope that clarifies things a little bit.
Okay, Catherine, thank you for that. Two things I'd like to say. One is that people are typing questions into the chat, but we're actually not monitoring that. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. And also just a reminder that Sagar is here tonight to talk about Google products. As Catherine said, we do hope to have a speaker from Apple on another occasion where you can then ask your Apple questions. But I think, Sagar's expertise here, I mean, he probably knows about Apple products, but his expertise really is Google, and that's why he's here. So if you have questions, please raise your hand. Michelle?
Hear me yet?
Now I'm going to hear something. Okay,
Getting
talk,
something
Michelle.
now? Is that yes, you can hear me or no? Okay.
Yes.
Hear you poorly. Okay, thank you. All along my computer, I unmuted myself and said it was unmuted, but for whatever reason, I don't know what I did. But anyway, I'm not sure I remember my questions now, but I was curious on the live transcribe app. I love that. I use it. I'm wondering if I travel to a foreign country, does it also translate? So if someone is speaking Italian, can I use that and have it translate into English? And I see Sagar is shaking his head yes. Okay, so I'll need to research how to do that. And then I'm also
You can
curious,
use the Google Translate app for that.
You can use that what? The Translate app? Oh.
Google Translate, yep.
So that's a Google Translate app that's different than Live Transcribe?
Correct.
But then will it show the transcript?
Correct.
Oh, okay. And then a quick question on the sound amplifier. I was just wondering if you could give some more like real life examples of when you would use that, because most of us probably have cochlear implants or hearing aids and they're already tweaked to our hearing loss. So how would we use the sound amplifier app to further tailor listening?
So sound amplifier helps you to tailor audio coming from your phone to better hear directly in your hearing aid if you have a paired hearing aid. And second is it's also for people who currently don't have or cannot afford a hearing aid or a cochlear implant. And so it it also works in a third scenario where your cochlear implant or a hearing aid is currently not with you. It's either you forgot or maybe it's charging, that kind of stuff.
Thank you. Okay, Michelle, did you have a follow-up?
I think that was it for now.
Okay. Carol Ansheen, I see your hand is up.
I just have a quick question. Will this presentation and his presentation that we saw be available to see again?
Yes, the talk is
This
being
will
recorded.
be, after, in a week or two, will probably be posted on our website with a YouTube link.
Thank you.
Other questions? I know that there, oh, Eloise? Eloise?
Yeah, these amplifiers, how much will they be costing, and are they approved by the FDA under their new rules that are coming out?
The sound amplifier app is available on 2 billion Android phones for free.
Agnieszka? Agnieszka, I see your hand up.
Hi. I did have one more question. That's the live caption app. Does it also work on all the phones, or does it only if I download Chrome or Google Chrome on an older Android, will I be able to get the live caption feature on that?
Live caption uses advanced machine learning, which is not usually possible to run directly on phones, on older devices. And so we currently support it in 2019 plus phones from Samsung, Google, and OnePlus.
Okay, thanks.
Wendy?
Hi,
Wendy Chang?
this is Wendy. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I have two questions. The first question is, I really like this presentation. Is there any way we could get a copy of the slide deck? And the second question is, it would be helpful, I think, for a lot of people if Google made a list of all their apps that are available on both Google Play and the Apple App Store. Right now, not everyone is familiar with our product. Google is making it available, and we have some kind of a comparison chart that would be so helpful. Thank you.
Yes, Daniel Brooks has sent a link particularly answering that aspect. Thanks for asking, Wendy, and thanks for the link, Daniel.
Are there more questions? I think there were some more typed. Oh, Michelle? Go ahead.
Hear me again this time?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yes, I also want to reiterate, I would love to see an all-inclusive list. And I actually am going to be in the market soon for a new phone. So I truly appreciate this presentation. It's very timely for me. And I will be very honest and upfront with Sagar that it has been my understanding in the last few years that Apple products, iPhones have, what's the right word, had more apps and compatibility with certain types of things that are helpful for people with hearing loss in the way of apps and the transcribing apps. But I will also let you know that I am currently a Samsung Android and have been a very long Android user. And I was considering purchasing an iPhone this next time and making the big switch because I thought iPhones were better for those people with hearing loss. So anyway, so I'm very intrigued and I want to go back to the drawing board and do a better comparison between, and I know we're supposed to limit our comments to Android, but I just wanted to mention that I think there is some, this is good knowledge for good competition now on the Google phones. So I also want to ask one more question. You just listed the types of phones that some of these apps are now available on the newer phones, being, Samsung, Android. Is the Chrome, I'm sorry, what's the other phone that begins with a C? Pixel, the Google Pixel phones, are these apps all available on those as well?
Correct.
Okay, so all Android-based cell phones, these apps would work on? Okay, thank you so much.
Are there more questions about Google Apps and products for Sagar? Michelle, is your hand up again, or? Oh, okay. Okay, well, in that case, I think, I want to thank Sagar for a terrific presentation. We had at some point 100 people here, which is, I think, an indication of how much interest there is in these products. And I know, speaking for myself and for many of my colleagues, that Google Meet was a lifesaver during the pandemic, particularly before Zoom started, transcribing things. And truthfully, this is not, not a scientific comparison, but I have found the Google Meet captions to be better than what I've seen on Zoom. Nothing, of course, as you said, replaces a wonderful live captioner, but there are many situations we can't bring Lauren Schechter with us everywhere. And so Google Meet has been very important, particularly early on in the pandemic. And there was a question about whether you can make the slides available. Is that possible? If you send them to me, if that's possible, I can find a way to share them.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll
that would be
follow up offline.
that would be wonderful. And of course, the recording of this meeting will also be available. So anyway, thank you very much for this presentation. Oh, we have another hand up, David Friedman.
I was just wondering about the usability of this in healthcare settings. A lot of concerns surrounding HIPAA issues. Is this data that's being sent to Google servers and therefore?
I think you got cut off, but if you were asking about healthcare settings, these apps are not certified for HIPAA.
Okay, so some data would be sent to Google if people are using them in healthcare settings.
We do use the data is only used for captioning. It is not used for anything. It is completely anonymous. I'm just mentioning that the apps themselves are not HIPAA certified.
Okay, thank you. Catherine, another question?
I don't have a question. I just want to say about the use of it in healthcare settings. I have used my captions very frequently in healthcare settings. I show them to the doctor, the nurse, whoever's taking care of me. Most of them are extremely interested in it because everybody is having difficulty talking with masks. And of course, everybody in healthcare settings are wearing masks. So just to amplify on what Sagar said on to Daniel, it's a good form of self-advocacy to go into your doctor's office with your phone in your hand with the captions activated and say, I have hearing loss. I need this to help me understand what you're saying. It's a way we can all, make hearing loss easier for everybody. We can share our knowledge of these apps, and the Google apps, the Live Transcribe has been invaluable, and the iPhone version of it is too for me, and I think it is for a lot of other people. But the more we do it, the more the medical settings, they really cannot object unless they offer you another form of captioning. Under the ADA, they have to give you access to communication. So if they won't give you a live captioner or something else, you get to use your live transcriber, your Otter AI on your iPhone.
Nancy? Nancy?
Not working.
I'm hearing you. Well, not now you've muted yourself. Unmute again.
are you hearing me now?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, it's showing unmute. I can't even use the raised hand, but thank you for calling on me. My question is this. I know that I am an Android user and I love Live Transcribe. Thank you so much for all the advancement. My question is that I know that on Otter, you can save the transcript. Is there any way that you can do that on Live Transcribe? Because I think, as Catherine pointed out, in a healthcare setting, if you're going to the doctor by yourself, and these days a lot of us are because of COVID, I would want to know that I have these, rather than write the notes, I would have them in my phone on a transcript. So is that available, or will that be available?
Yes, you can save the transcript for up to 3 days directly in the app. And then in those 3 days, you can always copy the transcript and paste it into whichever note-taking or archiving app that you use.
Thank you. That's an important feature. So I think that, again, thank you, Sagar, for a very interesting presentation. Oh, another Jay. Jay, your hand is up. Jay?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to piggyback on those two things in terms of transcripts. It saves your transcripts for 3 days if you activate it. And you've changed the programming, I think, in it, because I used to have to go in and try to save every time that put a new timeline, and then you'd have to save them individually, and it was a big pain for business meetings. And now it just copies everything. It's really very, very helpful. And then I would say about medical settings, I have used this in medical settings. I've used this even when I needed to get surgery, because the medical community is just really refusing to do what really works for us. So we have to go in and say, you have to provide me with captioning, otherwise you have to use these phones. And even if it's not HIPAA compliant, they're not giving us what we need. So we are kind of dependent on it. So thank you so much, Saga, and to the whole team there, Dimitri and Chet and all the people there. It's really fabulous. It saved my life during COVID. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Jay. While we are on, and again, thank you very much, Sagar, for everything you've had to say tonight. While we are on the subject of captioning, which is a very important subject for all of us, there's more to say. So please don't leave yet. Jerry Bergman, who has been a dedicated and passionate advocate on behalf of the hearing loss community, will speak briefly about an urgent topic that is important to all of us: movie captioning in theaters. I will post some links about this in the chat box while Jerry is talking. I'm also going to see if I can manage to share the screen to do that. So please, after I post it in the chat box, wait 30 seconds or a minute to before you chat some more so that it doesn't disappear. Okay, thanks, Jerry. Jerry, you're muted.
I know. Now you should be able to hear me. Is that better?
Yeah.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, John. And I just want to update everybody. The New York City Council is considering a bill that would, for the first time, require cinemas to provide open captions on movies on what we would regard as a fair and equitable basis. We now have 11 co-sponsors plus the New York City Public Advocate on board, but there are over 40 members of the City Council. And we've been sitting on pins and needles waiting for the City Council to announce a hearing date when we can really let everybody know how we feel. A national petition, this is a national issue, which is why I'm mentioning it tonight, not only for the New York chapter, but from our friends out of town. We'd like everybody to email and, if possible, call members of the City Council. And you can find them online. I don't see the link posted yet, but I can do it. the link is,
It's there, Jerry. I just put it there
where can people find it, John?
in the chat box.
In the chat box.
Yes.
Thank you. I had to scroll down. Now I see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
And it also has your email address there as well.
Thank you. The link that you see there will list all the members of the Progressive Caucus. A number of those are among the 11 co-sponsors, but Ben Callos and Diana Ayala are not. So I would say if this week you can please call and email them, you can find the link directly to their office on that website that you see in the chat. Both of them are very important because Kalos chairs the Committee on Consumer Affairs, and Diana Ayala is the Committee on Disabilities. And we want to signal them that we'd like a hearing. We've been contacted by the attorney for the cinemas in New York State, and they would like to try to reach an accommodation with us. So we're waiting for their response to our proposal. What's currently in the bill before the city council, it scares them to death because it goes way beyond what we consider a reasonable number of open caption showings. And that's another reason we want the hearing, because we want to present our case for what we consider fair. But the most important thing is to get to the hearing, and then for those of us who are able to testify in person and those who wish to submit comments, to submit their comments to the committee when the testimony takes place. So some people may have questions if we have another moment or two, John.
Any questions for Jerry? Raise hands.
No, good. I
Okay,
don't see it.
Not seeing anything, but Catherine raised her hand.
I'm sorry, I always have a question. Jerry, is there some, is there a website or someplace that we can go to get regular updates on what's going on with this? Is it possible to set something like that up?
I'm not capable of doing anything like that, but if people email me, I will give them an update. I try to send out advisories. I try to put things in the monthly newsletters, but this, is a situation that's hopefully changing favorably from day to day. So, I think we can send an e-blast out if something significant should happen, like we get word of the hearing. But short of that, my email is jerbergman1@me.com. Send me an email. There's a 2-page fact sheet that describes everything, and we have a longer piece that gives the whole history of open captions. It's not just for the hearing impaired or for the deaf. It's for seniors. It's for people for whom English is a second language, children learning to read. So there's a lot of reasons why it's a good idea, but we don't have the paid lobbyists like the cinema operators do.
There's lots of research showing that everyone benefits from captions in terms of comprehension, memory, and it's a little bit of a mystery why schools, theaters don't all understand that. Advertisers. Alan Katsura did post a link. Alan Katsura did post a link in the chat box for an HLAA advocacy group. And are there more questions, discussion about this for Jerry? Catherine, is your hand up again? I guess not. It just didn't go down. Okay.
Thank you, John, for the time.
Thank you. I mean, it's an important subject for all of us, and I would really encourage those of you who haven't already contacted your city council people that to please do so. And we're all here aware of how important captions are, and I would like to especially thank our miraculous captioner, Lauren Schechter, who somehow manages to provide us with perfect captions almost instantaneously. We continue to see many new faces tonight, and we're very happy about that. And to learn more about HLAA, to join, or to donate to help us continue our activities, please go to the chapter website, hearinglossnyc.org. I'd also like to make a plug for our next meeting. I'm very excited about this. It's of particular interest to me on December 7th, when Gabriella Lena Frank, Grammy Award-winning composer in residence with the Philadelphia Orchestra, will discuss her hearing loss and how it has affected her development and professional success as a composer. She may also play some short recordings of excerpts of her work. Born in Berkeley, California, to a mother of mixed Peruvian Chinese ancestry and a father of Lithuanian Jewish descent, Gabriella explores her multicultural heritage through her compositions. Ms. Frank was included in the Washington Post's list of the 35 most significant women composers in history. So I think it should be an exciting meeting, and I hope to see you all then. So thanks for this, and again, many thanks to Sagar, who did a terrific presentation that I know we were all interested in. So good night, all.